Hey Naya, welcome to your very own super special study guide. Get ready, because by the time we're done, you're going to be a total Thomas Edison expert. And that exam, you are so gonna ace it. All right, let's jump right in.
Okay, so check this out. I bet this page looks familiar, right? It's straight from your textbook. What we're going to do is bring this page to life. We'll turn it into a super cool story that'll make everything a piece of cake to remember for your test. It's going to be fun, for real.
All right, let's kick things off with a big question. Can you imagine a boy whose teacher actually called him a fool, but then that same boy grew up and changed the entire world? Who could that be? Yep, you got it. The one and only Thomas Alva Edison.
So here's our exam game plan. Think of it like a checklist to get you totally ready. First, we'll meet Edison when he was an unusual boy. Then, we'll see how he got started learning and working. After that, we get to peek inside his laboratory. Then we'll cover all his amazing inventions, and we'll wrap it all up with a little pop quiz to make sure you've got it all down. Sound good? Let's do this.
Okay, first stop on our journey, an unusual boy. We're going to go back in time to meet young Tommy Edison, and let me tell you, he was not your average kid.
So the poem in your book kicks off with this. Thomas Alva Edison, a most unusual boy, never really bothered much with any childish toy. That tells us so much right off the bat. While other kids were playing with dolls and balls, Thomas's mind was somewhere else entirely. He was just wired differently from the very beginning.
And that word, unusual? Your book points out that it just means something is rare or uncommon. So, what exactly made him so different from all the other kids?
Well, this slide pretty much says it all, doesn't it? For a typical kid, a toy might be a doll or a ball. But for Edison, his toys were things like thinking, experimenting, and just figuring stuff out. That was his idea of fun. Crazy, right?
Now this next part of the poem is so important. His teacher thought he couldn't learn and sent him home from school, but Tommy's mother knew for sure he wasn't any fool. Can you believe that? His teacher totally gave up on him, but his mom, she knew he was smart, and her believing in him, well, that changed everything. So what happens next? Where does a kid go after being sent home from school for good? That brings us to our next section, learning and working. Let's find out how he started his amazing journey.
It kind of happened in these 4 steps. 1, he gets sent home from school. 2, his awesome mom steps in and becomes his teacher. 3, he gets a job as a newsboy on a train. And 4, that's where he learned this really cool new skill called telegraphy.
So what in the world is a telegraph? Well, your book explains it's a way to send messages using electrical signals over wires. The easiest way to think about it, it was kind of like the great-great-great-grandpa of texting. Back then, it was super high-tech stuff.
You know, the poem mentions this funny little thing about him. Apparently, he would get so focused, so deep in concentration, that people would actually laugh at him. But that just shows you how passionate he was about his work, right from the start.
All right, now we get to the really cool part. Section 3, inside the laboratory. Ooh, this is the place where all the magic happened. This is where his ideas weren't just ideas anymore, they became real.
The poem says Thomas Alva Edison had inventions by the score. In his laboratory, he kept inventing more. That phrase, by the score, it just means a ton. Like, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of inventions. He was like a non-stop invention machine. The second he finished one, boom, he was already on to the next.
And all that time in the lab, it definitely paid off. Which brings us to Section 4, Edison's amazing inventions. Let's check out some of the things he came up with that literally changed the world. And these are the ones mentioned right in your poem.
Okay, Nia, heads up, exam alert. This slide right here is super important, so you'll want to remember this list. The poem mentions things like fuses, sockets, a super storage battery, and get this, movies. Plus, his work helped lead to the radio, the X-ray, and even TV. Seriously, think about how different our world would be without all that stuff.
We've got one last new word from your book, phonograph. This was a huge one. It was a machine that could play music from records. So yeah, he basically invented the very first record player. How cool is that?
Okay, you have been doing an awesome job listening. We're at our final section, and it's time for a quick pop quiz. This is just to help you lock in all the facts for your exam. No pressure at all. You are so going to rock this.
Question number 1. Ready? Why did Edison's teacher send him home from school?
What was it that she thought about him?
And the answer is, she thought he couldn't learn. Can you believe it? She just didn't get his unique way of thinking. Wild.
All right, next up. True or false? Edison worked as a newsboy on a train. What do you think?
That one is true. Absolutely. And that's exactly where he learned about the telegraph. See? You're doing awesome.
Okay, last question. And you know, this might be the most important one of all. After his teacher said he couldn't learn, what did his mother think?
The answer's right there in the poem. She knew for sure he wasn't any fool. Her belief in him, it made all the difference. It just goes to show you how powerful it is when someone you love believes in you.
Okay, one last thing before we finish up. We talked all about Edison's inventions, and your book even mentioned mobile phones. So now it's your turn. I want you to think like an inventor. What's a new invention that you think is changing our lives today? Give it some thought. Nia, you did an amazing job. You are so ready for this exam. Good luck.